Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Hearthstone Meta Hype. I'm here with Ecor, and we have a couple of cool things we're going to talk about today. Over in his segment, we are talking about what we want to see from the mini set, and it's kind of crazy. So if you haven't seen that already, make sure that you get over there. But Ecor, what's going on with the tiers? I mean, like, there's just 2 decks in tier 1. Tier 2, there's a ton of decks. I mean, what's going on here? And all the statistics that we're going to talk about today, let's just do through Diamond 5 through Legend. Let's use that statistic.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. What do you see going on in the meta now? Tier 1. Aggro Druid?
Well, as much as we complained about the game in my segment, I actually think that the meta is in a fairly decent spot. Like, a lot of classes have decks in the meta. Like, Druid in the top tier 1 and 2 has 2. Paladin has at 3. Demon Hunter has at least 2. Shaman's got a couple. Hunter's got a couple. Mage and Warlock have their Quest. Warrior is Big Warrior and Quest Warrior. The only class that's like really struggling right now is Priest. Rogue has Quest Rogue and their Garrote Rogue. Like, every single class in the game has a deck in tier 1 or tier 2. So I do think, before we jump into this, when we start like talking about the stats, it is nice to see a fairly diverse meta in terms of like win rates and play rates. But that being said, now I'm going to jump into what I think about tier 1. I think that especially Aggro Druid is just one cut above the rest. Yeah. Aggro Druid is a 56% win rate. Libram Paladin is a 55% win rate, and then the next highest is a 54% win rate, Death Rattle Demon Hunter. And I think a 2% win rate difference between the first and third place deck is a lot. I think that a deck, for it to be good and not a huge problem, the win rate should cap at about 55%, somewhere between 54 and 55, is like strong, but not oppressively so. Like, it's definitely top tier and should probably be nerfed, but it doesn't feel too bad. Once it eclipses that 55% mark, and Secret Libram Paladin has also done this slightly by 0.4%, I think at that point it starts to become a little bit oppressive and should really get looked at in the future potentially.
I totally agree.
But then also, if you think about it, I know we said we were only going to talk about Diamond through Legend, but in top 1000 Legend, Aggro Druid drops from 56 to 52% win rate. It's still tier 1. It's still by far tier 1, but it's a little bit closer. So there is counterplay, and if you know what you're doing against it, you can beat it. But again, a 56% win rate is kind of ridiculous. Yeah.
It's one of the things, like, if we're going to just talk about Aggro Druid and use that as an example, it's a 56% win rate, but it suffers against Mage, where it's like a 44% win rate or 45% win rate against Mage. So you see that, like, its counter, it would be a lot higher. You know, it's so aggressive and so good against everything else. Yeah. And
it's so good against everything else. One of its worst matchups is one of like the most popular deck in the game.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason the win rate isn't like 60%.
That's correct. And having said that, that's like kind of really what I was thinking is like when you talk about Mage, right? Mage on here is in the statistics is a tier 2 deck, right? And
yeah,
and it's down there. They have it. I see Quest Mage is at 51%, and that's the win rate on it, right? So, and the thing is, though, that Quest Mage makes up 76% of the Mage decks played.
76? Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say something else. Sorry. 76% of Mage decks played. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you have like 76% of the decks are Quest Mage, and it dominates of the most powerful deck. Wow, you know what I mean? So it's like, I just can't believe how powerful Aggro Druid would be if it could beat Mage. And
yeah, and I don't know why. This is another thing, because you said Quest Mage was all the way down in tier 2. It's literally the last deck in tier 2.
It is.
And I don't know where that comes from. I played it last season and went 24-6 with it. And I was building a deck with Antonitis in it as kind of a meme. Like, I didn't even run a couple, like, one important card. Like, I took out one Wand Maker, which is a better card, and put in Antonidas to just clickbait a video. I went 24-6 with it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. Actually, to be fair, though, this build does do better into the mirror match because Antonidas, since they don't play any minions, Antonidas just fireballs their face 3 times for 18 to 24 damage. It's pretty cool. But, anyway, point is, it's still like a slightly different build, and I had an insane win rate with it. I don't know how it's possibly the lowest tier 2 deck in the game.
Because
like, how is it behind so many of these, actually?
You've never seen me play Quest Mage. I'm the only person that can't complete the quest on turn 5 for some reason. But it's, I mean, the thing with the deck is that the Quest Mage destroys, like pretty much everything except Hunter, so I guess if it's like the Hunter, is dominant against it. So if you have like stuff that can do damage quickly, a lot of people, because Quest Mage is so popular, people are kind of like quote unquote teching against it and using things like decks that can beat it, that have like at least a decent chance. So I think the win rate is kind of where it should be, like slightly below. And based on the point that you talked about, 54% is an impressive deck. I think that that is a good, tier 1 deck as long as it's right there. So I really feel like Quest Mage is a tier 1 deck. It's just that it's because it's so popular, the numbers are lower. If it wasn't, I don't know how to say it. Like, it just seems like the counters are being played against it enough that will keep the win rate in check. But that's just what I'm saying. I don't know if it's making any sense really, but it just seems like the deck, if you look at like the overall Quest Mage, some of the ones they have as high as a 60% win rate. There's some builds that people have that have a 60% win rate. Some have down in, like, I've seen as low as like in Quest Mage 52%. I don't know where this 50% is coming from. It just seems like people experimenting with stuff that isn't working. And that's where we get down.
That's the thing. Like, if you're looking at, because you're bringing that up, if you were looking at like all of the win rates of different builds, the lowest win rate build for Quest Mage right now, looking at like all the different decks, is 55%. I honestly don't know where the 51% is coming from. I'm genuinely confused, and it low-key makes me question where they're getting the statistics from, because there is no way that it's only 51%.
Yeah, there's like
I've absolutely smashed with it. I have people on my channel who I've recommended it to, especially on a budget because it only needs 1 legendary, and they're like, I climbed with this to diamond for the first time. I won most of my games. Yeah. Hearthstone Replay has all these similar decks with the lowest win rate one being 52%. Like, I don't know where this percentage is coming from.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the deck,
but yeah,
there's 7 pages of Quest Mage that are all above 51% win rate. 7 pages.
Yeah.
It's like 20 or 30 decks on each page.
Yeah.
So,
and the most popular one is 56.1% with like 10,000 games played with it or something. Like, where is this number coming from? But yeah, I do think that it's maybe because people are teching against it. Maybe it's lower in this specific rank because people are trying to tech against it because they know it's being played a lot to climb. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but it does have its fair share of bad matchups. Like, it loses to Aggro Elemental Shaman, which is the deck I'm going to be playing today. It loses to Poison Rogue. Oh, that feels so nice and new. Just giant weapons slam him in the face a couple of times.
Yeah.
Face Hunter, it loses to. There's a decent amount of stuff that it does lose to. It's just, it beats everything else so hard that it's like, okay, there's some bad matchups that are sometimes winnable, and then a lot of matchups that literally you win every time, regardless of how you play the game.
Yeah.
Unless you accidentally overdraw your quest, which again has happened. I talked about this in my in my segment. Somebody accidentally played First Flame. They got the second flame into their hand, and their hand was full for Dawnbringer. So That was funny.
It didn't work out quite well for them there.
Didn't work out well for them at all. I was like, wait.
That's like...
Did they just do what I think they did?
That's like...
Did they just mess that up?
That's like me on day one playing the Warlock quest. I don't know how many times I must have, like,
you life tapped to finish the quest or raise deaded.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute, I don't get the quest.
I mean, I think that happened to me once.
Yikes.
That was like a couple of months ago, man. This is like... whatever, but there's cool decks in tier 2. Like tier 2 like is full of lots of different things. Fell Demon Hunter, Fell Rattle, there's Quest Warrior is in there, Quest Mage, Clown Druid. I mean, Elemental Shaman is a tier 2 deck. It feels like a tier 1 deck, but it's tier 2. There's just like, so I kind of saying like what you said earlier is that the meta is pretty like diverse to some degree.
Diverse and balanced.
It's just it's like, and we've talked about this before. Would you rather have a diverse meta or a balanced meta? Didn't we talk about that once?
So yeah, in a previous episode, this was a long time ago, we were talking about would we rather have a diverse meta of a ton of different decks, but like very polarizing matchups, or would you rather have a balanced meta where it is just like 5 decks, but they're all very, very even against each other? And I think I would personally rather have it be balanced with only 5 decks, because here's why. Either way, you're going to get kind of sick of the game, right? Either way, just because you play it so much, you will eventually get sick of a game. But in a meta where it's super diverse but polarizing, like Quest Mage has matchups that it wins 100% of the time and also loses 100% of the time. And it becomes absolutely frustrating because some of the things, it doesn't feel like what you do matters, as I've said multiple times. But in a balanced meta where it's only 5 decks and it's very skill-based and very even, that will also get boring too. But it'll get boring because there isn't diversity and you don't want to play against the same 4 other decks or 5 other decks all the time. So it's really like, which one do you want? Would you rather be frustrated but see like a lot of different things? Or would you rather be bored but like get to play the game? And I would rather be bored and play the game, but I also understand that there are people who probably want to see a wide diversity of decks. They don't want to play against the same thing over and over and over again. And I can say when I was playing the game more casually, I definitely wanted to see a wider diversity of decks, because especially when I was climbing to Legend the first time, when I was like finally taking the game a little bit more seriously, got my Face Hunter deck, got the like 1 legendary required, saved up some dust, all that. Seeing a lot of different decks was more fun because I was playing during Frozen Throne, which is a very balanced meta. It actually had a wide variety and a pretty balanced meta, fun fact, but that was a very rare case. But playing against a lot of different decks was fun to me because I hadn't really taken the game that seriously before, so I was experiencing a ton of new stuff. So it definitely depends on what you're playing the game for and what you want. Like, I play more competitively, so I would rather see a balanced meta, but balanced meta in the sense that like it's very even and skill based, but not a huge diversity. But I don't know. It's definitely up to you. I want to hear what you thoughts on it. Which one would you prefer? I guess.
I think that I kind of like the meta the way it is, where we have a lot of different playable decks, and the thing is it's weird. I think I like United in Stormwinds as far as all the different ones. It's just I don't like the way that aggro is just so like part of that. There's just no control. So the balance is off in the sense that it's either aggro or mid-range, and the quests kind of ruin things a little bit, and it's sort of like there's no control. I think I like the meta.
That is true. I like control, but other than that, I do also kind of like the meta. I'm conflicted.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. Like, it's fun to see the diversity, but it's also super frustrating to have so many decks and have so many matchups that are just you win or you lose. Like, I like it and I don't like it, and it's very frustrating to think about because I'm so conflicted and I'm torn.
I am too. Like, for example, like tier 3 deck, Evolve Shaman. Like, that deck could feel like the best deck in the game sometimes. A deck
Sometimes, yeah.
and like a deck that you did with, like that was, I mean, a deck that you reviewed on your channel and did a tutorial for it. And if you haven't seen that, guys, you got to check it out. It's the one that Ecor did on the big warrior.
Yeah, it's a tier 2 deck. It's actually good. It's got a 51% win rate. Like, it's actually a decent deck.
The deck is crazy.
And the same thing goes for, there's also Quest Shaman, Poison Rogue, Felled Demon Hunter, Anacondra Druid, Aggro Shadow Priest. They're all about 49% win rates, which are almost tier 2, so they're still very playable if you like learn how to play them super well.
Yeah.
That adds another like 7 or 8 decks to the list of decks that are playable.
Yeah.
And like it's, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating to think about because like
right?
on one hand I love it,
yeah,
and on the other hand I just want to punch the wall every time I go against like a Quest Mage or Quest Warlock.
I know
when I'm playing a meme control deck.
I totally know what you're saying.
Quest Priest.
I totally get it. Like I'm like so conflicted too because like big warrior, for example. I mean that's what I took from the bronze rank. I just played it. I was like I went 14-2 before I lost. And you know, like I got to rank 5. Like what I mean by that before I lost. Like in other words, it's like 14-1, 2 diamond rank 5, and then my next loss was at diamond rank 5, and that's when I'll say, you know, so it's like the same as like going from diamond 5 to legend. You know, you could go like 30-2 or something, or 21-2, whatever whatever you need. So like I do the records that way, but the deck feels great. Libram Paladin, another deck that's just like that works. Libram Seeker Paladin, Face Hunter is even a thing. But there's the funny part is there's so many well-balanced counters for the tier 2 decks. There's not necessarily, it's, I don't know, I guess I'm gonna say it, man. What screws up this meta is Quest Mage. Everything I think else is okay. I really do. I think even, wow, I'm going to get a ton of hate for this, but I think that that's really it. I think that they've done some balance changes, and let's throw Warlock in there too. I mean, right? I mean, for the most part, everything's playable. You can find a little something to dance with. In Big Warrior, you could play Pirate Warrior. It's a thing now. Our Shaman got some help, some hurt, some nerfs, some buffs. I mean, there's all kinds of different stuff. So it's just weird. The discrepancy of the decks and the way it is just pretty crazy. So if you have any final thoughts, man, we are definitely ready to get on out of here.
I guess my final thought is more of a poll that I did on my channel.
Love to hear it.
And I actually haven't looked at the results. I actually have not looked at the results. I know I did it, and I did it because I was mad about Quest Priest. Or not Quest Priest, sorry, no, Quest Priest is fine. Quest Mage. And I think it was, where was it? Okay, on a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you hate Quest Mage? And there was 1, I loved it, 2, I like it, 3, I don't really care, 4, I don't like it, 5, it's a huge problem and it's why I'm playing new games. And 17% of people said they loved it or liked it. The other 83% said that they didn't care to it's a huge problem. And the biggest one by far was it's a huge problem, and that was 43% of the people that answered this. And there were 4,000 people who responded to this poll.
Wow.
So there are almost 2,000 people who say it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And that's just from what I've...
Crazy.
Just from my community.
Well, interesting.
So I think that it's just... I don't know. I do think that Quest Mage is the main problem, and the fact that it wasn't nerfed still pisses me off. Like, I don't... Oh my gosh.
Now tell us what you really think.
I can't believe that it was... Dude.
All right, well...
Oh my gosh. I could go on an absolute tangent, but I'm not going to. I'm going to control myself.
Without a doubt.
Breath.
Without a doubt. So, having said that, everybody, you know what I always say. Stay hype, and we'll see you next week.